That's right, Dance It Up, Band Brothers. We have led the way with our brand new music. I gotta turn it down a little bit, though. That bass line is sweet. That's right, you are listening to the Brother Sisters, Smart Dumb Fun with the Brother Sisters, with our amazing show music from the magnificent Max Caselli. We need a name for this song. Is it, what's the name of our theme song?
I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it. I was like...
Well, you don't have to think about it, but, you know, if something pops into your head, keep that in mind.
I was going to say, I probably just stopped thinking about it as soon as the words left my face. So.
That's fine, too. And the best part about that is that it fades out so magically. It's like, I didn't even have to turn the volume down myself. That was amazing.
No, that's what happens when you get a pro to do some stuff for you.
To do stuff that we can't do ourselves. I know that's amazing. So here we are. It is St. Patrick's Day, and look at me. I'm not wearing any green. None.
I'm only wearing green because it was warm. I was like, I'm going to put my green sweater. I'm like, oh yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day. I keep forgetting. I've forgotten all day long.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is that it's on a Sunday, and I think St. Patrick's Day on a Sunday. All I know is that Kalamazoo was very quiet this morning. Joe and I went to Costco. There was nobody there. It was amazing. And like Kalamazoo, you could feel it. You were driving in the car, and you could feel Kalamazoo's collective hangover. It was amazing.
We've been partying since Thursday. I need to vomit some more.
Well, it's so funny because I was driving through Kalamazoo last night. It was our mom's birthday yesterday, so we had birthday dinner at Gibby's in Mendon with mom yesterday, and so I was driving back from Mendon, and I have to drive through basically downtown to get home, and it was just an absolute party-rama. There were lots of drunk people already draped in green, and I was so glad that A, I was not in a bar, and B, that I was not working in a bar yesterday. Because it's amateur hour. There are 3 nights of the year that I would consider to be amateur hour. 1 is Halloween, 2 is New Year's, and 3 is St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Where people are like, yeah, green beer for 25 cents. Let's go. What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing can go right. Nothing.
I actually drove by Louis' trophy house on the way down to Mendon. And I saw one of the managers, Jonathan. He and a couple of guys were putting some poor guy in a van. I think it was an Uber to get him home. So I'm like, and that was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I was going to say, wasn't that at like 4 in the afternoon?
It was. So yeah, somebody was partying hard, like it was their birthday, or it was St. Patrick's Day. Yeah,
they were partying like it was their job.
That's right. So I would talk to you about St. Patrick's Day, but I really have no interest in that. So I'm not going to, other than to say that I have not had a Shamrock Shake this year. This is the first year. Well, here's the problem. Shamrock Shakes are terrible now. They're gross.
Jenny,
so last year when I was, they're even more terrible now. And so I actually told myself last year that would be my last Shamrock Shake because it was so disappointing and disgusting. And it gave me diarrhea to top it off because the whole, you know, so it's like I could not, there was no winning. I'm like, I'm done with this. So if I'm going to drink something green, it's going to be something that's delicious and not that. So, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this on the stage. That's right, you guys. Big day today. We're going to be talking about estate planning with Kristin Britt. We're going to bring Kristin on here in just a minute. We have to do our housekeeping, though, before we get started. So here it is. Welcome back. Yes, we are the Brother Sisters. You are watching the Brother Sisters Smart Dumb Fun. I am Janice Brothers.
And this is Ann Brothers.
Very good. We are the Brother Sisters, and that's really our name. We are actually named brothers. We could thank our dad for that and his family from, I don't know, I think Brothers was the German part of the family. So
yes.
But we are in fact sisters. That's not a joke. And if you look at us up close, you can tell we actually do look alike. Ann, would you like to take the next?
Oh, sure. We're in our 50s. We are Gen X. That means that we saw the original Star Wars movie in a theater. It was October of 1977, and it was my 8th birthday.
Yes.
And Jenny's life was never the same. She was 6. All of a sudden, Jenny was going to be a Jedi come hell or high water.
Yeah, it really was. It did change my whole life. I might have just been interested in sports before that, but then after that, all I really cared about was Star Wars and sports. And so spent a lot of time alone with my action figures, not knowing at the time that I was creating fan fiction. Yeah.
Exactly.
So great. Exactly. Yeah. A lot of time spent by myself playing with my Star Wars action figures. And not just when I was 6 or a lot of years after that, maybe into high school, but just a little when I was in high school.
Oh, hey.
Mostly making my little dioramas in high school with that. Anyway, so yeah. For those of you that don't know what that was like, it really was mind-boggling. It was an absolute cultural.
Mhm.
It rocked America. The theaters, you couldn't get a seat in a theater to Star Wars that first year, honestly, you without having to stand in a hugely long line. Because I can remember it didn't come to Sturgis until October.
Mhm.
It had been out all summer, but Sturgis never got movies, quickly anyway. When you had to actually wait for movies to get to you because they had like 14 copies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, we also talk about smart stuff, dumb stuff, fun stuff, or any combination of the three. We are not cool, hip, or sexy. We know this because we still leave voicemail messages and we listen to the ones that we receive.
They're usually from our mother.
Yes, my dads are my favorite because he'll just be like, "Hey, it's your dad. Um, I was looking outside this morning and it was cloudy and rainy." I thought to myself, "Oh, it's really cloudy and rainy." So then I got to thinking that I should just call you and say hello. And so it's just like it is 5 minutes of dad just talking about whatever. And I really like that. I like dad's voicemails. So, go
So
ahead,
we are
Ann. Take
Oh, yeah. We're not a celebrity, influencer, or true crime podcast, but we are open to suggestions. We've been told we're good to listen to while you're doing your morning stretch routine. So you have your morning stretches. And if you don't have a morning stretch routine, you need to get one because, especially if you're one of those Gen Xers or older, or even if you're like an older millennial, you need to start stretching in the morning because you're going to be like, why do I hurt all the time? I'm like, that's just a permanent thing. The more you stretch, it won't last as long throughout your day.
Good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah.
My massage therapist always gives me really good stretching tips. Afterwards,
Mhm.
she'll like, "Okay, I noticed this. You should do this." And then I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, you're right." And then I don't really do them very
Mhm.
much. I'm not very
Yeah.
good at that. So,
Yeah, as a massage therapist, I often give people stretches. And I'm like, you really, really need to do this. And most of the time, they're like, okay, I'm going to. It really feels good. And then they don't do it. So, but
we're the
I,
worst.
I encourage it, and I do have one. And I got Duncan to start doing it because he was having low back issues. I'm like, here, do these stretches, and it made a difference. And so he still does his morning stretch routine.
He's a stretching beast.
A
Uh,
beast.
this is not this is not a PG or G or rated PG-13 show. Not that we talk about super gross things, but we will drop the occasional F bomb, S bomb, A bomb. What are the other ones that we drop? B bomb,
Hmm.
SB bomb, that sort of
Hmm.
thing. So just know that that's out there. If you've got little ones with you, tell them to cover their fucking ears. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Exactly. We'll try to be on our best behavior today because we have company.
That's right. We do have company.
Mhm.
Please join us on our website, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Like us, follow us, hit the little bell. It's free. You can do it for free. It's amazing. And you can even ask Alexa to play us.
Mhm.
Look, she's responding right now. It's awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, so smart, dumb, fun stuff this week. And hit it. What you got?
My dumb fun stuff this week was Ryan Gosling's performance of "I'm Just Ken" at the Oscars. I loved the Barbie movie. I saw it 3 times in the theater this summer. That's how much I loved it, and I just he did a great job. You think like he has a good voice. He performed it without, he performed live. He was just it's so fun. He's again another one of those hot leading mans. Like a comic actor trapped in a hot leading man body. He was great. I've watched it a couple times. It just really perks you up. Oh, and then what's his name? Slash from Guns N' Roses
Guns N' Roses. I know.
does the guitar solo, and then a number of the actors who are actually in the movie, perform with him. So it was a great performance. And I didn't watch the Oscars. I just heard about it, and then I went to YouTube and watched just the performance. It was awesome. I loved it. Dumb fun. I loved it.
It. I love that, and it was entertaining. And he's a great entertainer. Period.
Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
and he is the classic comedic actor, character actor trapped in a leading man's body. So
Hmm.
good for him.
Yeah.
Uh, well, my dumb thing was that yesterday, Anne, was National Corn Dog Day. And I got to tell you, as far as just delicious American treats go, corn dogs. It's so funny. We were talking to Kristin earlier about like the awesome restaurants we're going to go to in Chicago next week. And there's, these nice like French restaurants and Spanish tapas and all that. But honestly, I am just as content to have a corn dog, any corn dog, mini corn dog, jumbo corn dog with cheese in it. I don't care. So anyway, just thought I would share with you, that beautiful thing that there is actually a National Corn Dog Day. It was yesterday. And I love food on a stick, including hot dogs that you dip in cornmeal batter and deep fry. This is why I'm going to die of a heart attack when I'm 55. So
it's just one day a year that you enjoy the corn. Well, maybe 3 days a year that you enjoy corn dogs.
Honestly, it's not like I eat corn dogs. I basically, if I'm at some sort of festival, I'm looking for the corn dog person immediately. I didn't go to Costco today and buy 2 boxes of mini corn dogs. Good job, me.
Good job.
Health nut. That's me. Shut up, Ann.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I'm just agreeing with you 100%. Jenny, you should like start your own health food, your own health blog. That's a blog, podcast, wellness. Jenny, you're a wellness guru.
Wellness guru, Janice Brothers, doesn't eat corn dogs that much. Okay, good. Okay. So anyway, we have chit-chatted it up here. Let's bring on our honored guest, Kristin Britt, lawyer, advisor, amazing human being. Let's give it up for Kristin Britt. Here we go. There she is. Woo!
Yay! Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. Sparkle fingers. How are you?
Oh. So great to see you guys. I didn't know I was an amazing human being. I haven't heard that in a long time. So thank you. I needed it.
No problem. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. So
we have Paige Marie. Is it Sembach with us? So
that is my daughter-in-law. Hello, Paige.
What? Hey, Paige. What's up? Welcome to the show. Right on. Are you a new viewer? Oh my gosh, we should do something for a new viewer.
More jazz fingers.
More jazz fingers. Yes, good. Paige, those jazz fingers are all for you. Okay, good.
Exactly.
Wait, is that weird? That sounded weird. Sorry.
We'll figure it out later.
It is. Lucy says hi. Who's Lucy?
Oh, that's my granddaughter. She's 4.
Oh, yeah. Oh, rats. I swore in front of the baby. Sorry.
She's cute and she still thinks I'm smart. So we'll just take that for a little bit.
Awesome. That's going to last how much longer? 6 years. That will last 6 more years. 5. Sorry, 5. Yep.
She's the girl. 5.
5. Okay. Right on. So, Kristin, we have a bunch of questions to ask you. If you are willing to answer our many questions, are you okay with that?
Bring it on.
Okay, good. All right. So let's go with Anne. Would you like to take question number 1? Here it is.
Yes. What would you like our viewers to know about you? So we did introduce you earlier as a lawyer, an amazing human being, advisor. But again, just to review that you were with the Britt Law Group, and that you actually, Jenny and I know you personally because you did our estate planning. So what would you like our viewers to know about you other than those things?
Well, stick to the theme of the show. Okay. I am smart, or so I think. If other people don't think so, obviously I don't really care because it doesn't matter to me in my world. The word dumb comes into my vocabulary almost every day when I'm referring to other people who drive me crazy. I don't have a lot of tolerance for it. And since COVID, dumb seems to be on the explosion. I don't know what happened, if they were in hiding and they all felt it was safe to come out or what happened. But I have a sharp tongue about pointing those things out. So good thing you're only not quite PG-13 rated. It's a good thing.
That's right.
So third, I think I'm fairly fun. And as proof positive, I've agreed to be on this show today. How's that?
That's all the proof you need. All the proof you need. That's right.
Obviously, she's fun because she's here.
Right.
This is empirical evidence to support your funness, if that's a word. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, so I get the second question. This is probably one of my favorite questions that we ask everybody is, Kristin, what is your spirit animal?
So we were talking about this a little bit before the show. I am a huge Harry Potter head, which means, of course, I've taken the test to find out what house I'm in many, many times.
And what's the house?
And I'm always a Slytherin. So I guess my spirit animal must be a snake. I guess it would have to be, right?
Cool. Cool.
I was going to say
that. I could fake it and say it's a warm, fuzzy little rabbit, and I just don't think anybody would buy it.
Yeah, I have a warm, fuzzy little rabbit in my belly because my snake ate it.
Slytherins. Okay. I won't lie. I'm a Gryffindor, and one time I tested as a Ravenclaw. I'm also not surprised because the Ravenclaws are super smart, at least book smart, nothing else.
I'm always a Slytherin, but I secretly wish I was a Hufflepuff, and I think I married a Hufflepuff. So
I married a Hufflepuff, which goes to prove even more that I'm a Slytherin because we're smart and we like to be in control, right?
Right.
So,
right.
Oh, okay. Time out.
Mhm.
What's the qualities of a Hufflepuff? Because I might be married to a Hufflepuff too.
Well, they are more, I think, go along to get along. But my husband always says not to forget that Cedric Diggory was in fact
Was a Hufflepuff. That's
and
true.
so, you know, it's not all stuff and fluff and Stay Puff Marshmallow Man, which is what I think of when I think of the Hufflepuff.
I actually might be married to a Ravenclaw though, because Joe's he's pretty sharp. He might be Ravenclaw material. So
I think they're all smart. It's what they do with it that seems to be the distinction. And I tend to use my powers for evil more than good. So I think that's why I fall in there.
Oh,
I
Lord.
say that to Jenny all the time.
Totally.
I'm like, today,
oh, damn it.
Good. But usually I use them for evil.
Yeah, I'm about as far from the Slytherin model as possible. I don't know. So it's just not who I am. It's okay.
One time Jenny and I were like, we're at this coffee place and we're sitting outside and this father and son pull up with their bicycles and they don't lock them up. They just pull up and leave their bicycles. And Jenny says, if anybody gets on those bicycles and tries to steal them, we're going to run them down and get them. And I was thinking to myself, we should take those bicycles and throw them in that pond over there.
Those look like some pretty nice bicycles.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up our relationship in a nutshell. So, okay. Fun fact about snakes. Snakes used to have legs. Did you guys know that? They have little vestigial legs. Okay, I just thought I'd throw that out there because I just got done talking about that with my students, and then we all had that idea of having, snakes with all these legs, and it was kind of creeping all of us out. So, but still, anyway.
As long as they didn't have 8 legs, because the 8-legged spider thing is too much for me. I can't take it. Insects with 6 legs, fine. Extra 2 legs, no, I'm not okay with that.
No arachnids. Okay.
No,
good to know. All right. Okay. I get question number 3. Here it is. Question 3. How did you decide on this type of law? So your marquee basically says that you are business and personal law. So say more about that.
Sure. So the areas that I do are all personal. So they have to do with business, small business owners, what the things that they need, and then family matters, which might unfortunately include divorce or things like that. And then as far as the other side of family law, you might think of is estate planning or dealing with estates after somebody has passed. The reason that I enjoy the part we're talking about today, the estate planning, is because of the 3, it is the least contentious. And it is oftentimes the one where people feel like you're helping the most because they're very anxious areas. People don't want to plan for estates because they think that means somehow that they're gripping the fact that they're going to die. And I'm not sure why that's a surprise, but for some people, they don't want to deal with that fact. And then after the fact, when somebody passes, it can be a really hard time for the family. Just having somebody be able to take care of that, it's people hug you on the way out the door. That's a nice feeling. And lawyers don't get that every day.
Truth. That makes a lot of sense.
I know that after you finished our estate plan for my husband and myself, the wash of relief was so palpable that I did want to give you a big kiss. So
it does. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside when you're done with this because it's like I did something smart and good. Yay! So yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. And you have the next question.
Okay. What do you consider to be the essential estate documents that any person should have?
Okay, good. So before we get going on this question, I am a lawyer, so I have to give a disclaimer. And that is that right now today, I'm a Michigan lawyer and you're in Michigan and we're talking only about Michigan. So I wouldn't want anybody that might hear this podcast in your worldwide broadcast to take what I'm saying and apply it to their own circumstances if there is somewhere not Michigan. Okay. I realize the stretch is broad and I just wouldn't want anybody to get trapped into that thought process.
Excellent disclaimer. Well done. Good job.
Thank you very much. The very big asterisk. It's like this. Okay. So there's 3 basics. And 1 has to do with when you pass, as in die. And 2 are while you're alive. And when you're talking about estate plan, we're not just talking about once you pass away. We're talking about while you're alive too. And in fact, the worst situations that I have had to deal with after the fact, when somebody doesn't do what they're supposed to do, are they're alive, and somehow because they either had the wrong documents or they didn't have them at all, created problems while they were unable to make decisions for themselves. And now they come out of it and, oh crap, I got a bunch of pile of mess in front of me. So the 3 documents, 2 while you're alive. 1 is your medical power of attorney. Oftentimes you might hear this called a patient advocate, or in Michigan, sometimes people call it a living will, which is a completely different thing in another state. So not to confuse the issue. But your medical power of attorney is what waives those HIPAA requirements so that your doctors can release your information for your medical situation to your patient advocate. It gives them the right to make decisions whether or not your doctor agrees with that decision. And it gives them a right to deal with issues like life support, organ donation, that sort of thing. So it's all while you're alive. You can't make those decisions for yourself. Somebody's got to do it for you, right? Mm-hmm. So luckily, because of technology, sometimes technology can be good even when we're almost 55, Anne. And me. So with technology, a lot of the medical programs now, and I know around here, a lot of people use the MyChart program, or different hospital systems have different types of online medical programs, and they'll let you upload those medical powers of attorney now. So when they're needed,
I've actually done that. Yeah.
Find these documents that might be in a safe somewhere, or who knows where. So to me, that's the most important document. And that's why I start with it, because what could get messed up worse in your mind than your health, right? Mm-hmm. If something happens and you've passed and something screwed up, quite honestly, are you going to know about it? Probably not. No. So to me, this is the biggest thing. And I think it should be number 1. The biggest issue that I run into with this one is that people don't understand what a legal adult is. And that sounds stupid and silly, but that, I guess, is the dumb part of the program. Once you turn 18, we all know you're a legal adult, right? Mm-hmm. But yet parents consistently think that they can still make medical decisions for their children, even though they're over age 18.
Wow.
And they can't. So I encourage people, when they send their kids off to college, to make sure that they at least have the medical power of attorney in place. So when they get that call from the college because their kid might have made bad decisions going off to college, and they need to jump in and make a medical decision, that they can actually do it. I had a recent situation where a friend of mine did not do that, sent their child off to college. A medical situation did arise. And when she called the hospital to ask questions, they couldn't even confirm if her daughter was there.
Whoa, that's terrifying. That's
terrifying. But
wow.
Our common sense should tell us that that's the way it would be. We know we have HIPAA. We know you're an adult when you're 18. But parents think that their kids are their kids forever, and adult children are not children.
It's huge. And you know what? How many parents do that? I mean, honestly, if you were to
Almost
see,
all.
No, yeah, I was going to say, how many parents are actually doing that? They're actually making a power of attorney for their adult children. Yeah, I was going to say, it just totally goes under the radar because you're so busy thinking about other things, sending your kid off to college. So, that's a big one right there.
College, and you spend a ton of money on graduation and graduation parties and la 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 la, and making sure they have everything they need to go, and buying important things like microwaves and hot plates, but there is no power of attorney.
Wow. And I think is another thing too is that 18-year-olds are often still on their parents' insurance. So you think, well, I insure them. What do you mean I can't know about their medical, issues?
No, the insurance means you get to pay.
Right.
It doesn't mean you get to know. Right. So they're 2 very different things. Okay.
Right.
Getting to pay and getting to know her too. We got some comments. I'm going to throw some comments on there. We got Jeannie Caselli, who is one of our superstars. That's great advice. It is, because again, it's not something you think about. So we got Nancy Garman with us. Nancy Garman, you're the best. Definitely will be watching this later. Yeah, Nancy, awesome. Tell everybody you know to watch this too, because this is some of the best advice you're going to get for free. So yeah, that's awesome.
Especially if you have like kids that are teenagers right now, this is something you should be thinking about right now, you know, before they're like ready to go out the door to whatever their life will bring them after they turn, you know, 18.
18,
yeah,
which is
there's a problem, and to get that nailed.
that
I've
should be
to a lot of my friends, you know, who have younger adult children, maybe in their 20s. You know, they might not think they need all of this stuff right now, but you as a parent really need them to have that medical power of attorney in place. How about giving them a gift certificate in their stocking at Christmas?
I love that idea.
Get it
that's
done.
a good idea.
Yep. That's super smart. Yeah, that's incredibly wise. Wow.
So that's document number 1. I'll move to 2 unless you guys have questions about that one.
Oh,
No, that was awesome. Let's go to number 2.
Well, we'll warn everybody on the show too that both Janice and Ann have been through this process with me. So they've listened to all my stupid stories about all these documents, but we're just staying at the high level unless they have questions. Okay. All right. So the second one is also a power of attorney. So once again, we're in this zone where you're alive, but you can't make decisions for yourself some reason. And I just want to clarify when I say can't make decisions for yourself for some reason, what that means. It means any circumstance which requires that 2 doctors have tried to get you to make a decision or respond, and you either can't or you can't do it appropriately. So some people think, well, it's just that if I'm in a coma. No, that's true if you're in a coma. What about if you're 102 and you have dementia? What about if you're medicated and the doctor asks you a yes and no question and you say blue? What if your job has driven you to craziness and you wake up one morning thinking you're in a Star Wars movie and you hoist out your lightsaber and you start running down the road?
I'm lucky
to be making decisions for you, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Okay. It could be any circumstance that creates a situation where 2 doctors have decided that you can't make decisions for yourself. So back to the second one, which is the financial power. We often call this the durable power of attorney. Sometimes the medical can be called that too, because the word durable just means ongoing in your lifetime. That's all it means. But when we usually think of the durable power of attorney, we mean for financial matters. If you're a business owner, you might want 2 of these documents because your business matters and your personal matters could be needing to be handled by 2 very different people. I'll give you an example. I'm an attorney. I'm happy to share personal experiences. I'm an attorney in my business. Nobody can get into my business matters as far as doing attorney type work unless they are a licensed attorney. So my husband is my financial power of attorney. However, he can't jump in and do some of the things that be required for my business if I weren't able to make those decisions for myself. So I have a separate power of attorney only as to business matters, which would be required to be performed by an attorney. So I actually have 2, right? I have a personal power of attorney and finances, and then I have also the business one. So when I'm advising people who are married on the financial power of attorney, we talk about when, in fact, the power should come into play. Is this an immediate power? In other words, we're going to sign this document, and then whoever I'm named as my power can go around and run to the bank and empty my bank account or go sell my house or go do anything for me, file my taxes without proof that I'm actually incapacitated? Or do they also have to have a secondary document that proves them actually incapacitated? Married couples sometimes keep their finances separate. Sometimes they keep them together. So I don't really know what to do about that. So what I say to people is, have you ever been in a situation where you walked into a bank or somewhere to sign something and they said, well, I need your husband's signature on this too. And you have lied and said, well, my husband's in the car. So let me run out and get a signature really quick and I'll run it right back in. And you run out to the car and you sign your husband's name and you run right back in. Well, probably for convenience purposes. I'm sure none of us have ever done that.
Honestly, I haven't. What a great idea.
Privilege over a podcast. So let's just keep it at that, okay? But if you manage your finances between a married couple so closely that you do sign things for each other and you do things for each other, then it makes sense that you'd have that immediate power where the extra proof is not needed. But as to your backup people, you should always have that proof required. It's not that you don't trust those people, because if you don't trust them, don't name them. But if you have named them, they could be accused by other people of acting when they shouldn't have. So having that proof with them helps protect them. The financial durable power covers everything. It's the kitchen sink. I always use the joke of your lawnmower. You have a push lawnmower. Again, we're all in our 50s. We all know about the push lawnmower. And there's a sticker on the push lawnmowers that says, "Do not hold over your head." Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have. Yes.
Do you know why it says that?
Because somebody did.
Because some moron held his lawnmower over his head to trim his tree branches and chopped his head off. And his family sued and won because there was no warning saying you shouldn't do that. So I say there's a lot of things in a standard power of attorney that are things you're like, I'll never have to do that. But you know what? Who cares? Let it be there. Everything's covered. It's very generic, but it just kind of covers everything that would ever need to happen. You get hurt in a car accident. Somebody might have to bring a lawsuit on your behalf. They go to sell your house and they find there's a gold mine underneath it. They might have to deal with that. They might have to deal with your digital assets. What if they need to do something with your Facebook account? You don't have a right to do that without that power being delineated in a legal document. Okay?
Yes.
So that's number 2.
Real quick, I'm just going to jump in here. We got Linnea Peterson with us from Minnesota. Linnea, how are you? It's great to see you. She's just speaking about the medical power of attorney came in helpful with her elderly mother when she was hospitalized in surgical ICU. So living proof. Right on, Linnea. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
We also have David, is it Millets with us? David Millets?
That's my husband.
David Millets' husband. Nice.
Husband
fingers, jazz hands.
Husband extraordinaire.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Well done.
Living with me is proof that there are angels in the world, and maybe they drink a lot of beer.
Hey, you know what? Okay, that was so serendipitous and Duncan just sat down behind you with a beer in his hand.
With a beer in his hand.
Then he did his beer talk. When was it? Last month?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it was. We have Lori Worrell with us. I have learned a lot about medical power of attorney lately. That's yes, you have. Yes, you have with your dad. And Lori, if you didn't see this earlier, something to think about with Andrew, who is in high school. So now I'm like, dude, it happens quick. That's all I know. Thanks, Lori, for joining us. Love you, woman. Right on. All right. We are still on question number 4, which is great because question number 4 was definitely I would call that a beefy question.
We were first to
the meat of our conversation today, right? So the third document is the one everybody thinks of when they think of an estate plan, and that is the will. The will does not matter, though, until you pass away. As I always say, the court doesn't care about you until you're dead. So the will is what is going to distribute your assets when you're gone. And a lot of people say, well, I don't have much, so it doesn't matter. If you own one thing that has a title or a deed, or you have a bank account, you have assets that are going to get tied up in probate if you don't have a will. Now, a will doesn't keep you out of probate. What it keeps from happening is you getting tied up in probate. In Michigan, probate is so simple these days. People get really wrapped up in what it used to be and problems. But if you have a set will, it names your personal representative. They send some documents into the court and they get back pretty much immediately a letter of authority, and it gives them the power to do everything they need to do. Sell assets, distribute assets, pay creditors, whatever needs to happen. So a basic will that protects that personal representative and their responsibilities, making sure that the court does not have to provide supervision of the estate and that no bond is required, really keeps things as simple as possible. I had an unfortunate situation where a young man in his early 30s passed away without a will. He had never had wife or children, so he wasn't thinking he needed one. He had just bought a house, so there wasn't an asset that had to be dealt with. All this doesn't sound so bad, except for when he passed unexpectedly in his early 30s. His elderly mother, who'd just been diagnosed with cancer and was already dealing with a husband dying of cancer, was the only person who was in line by court statute to handle his estate. And if he had had a chance to do his will and name a personal representative, I'm 100% confident he would never have named his mother and put that burden on her. And instead, she ended up having to take that burden on. Now, could she have denied it and there'd have been a court process to figure out who would do the job? Well, of course there would have. But who would do that, right? No mom would set their child's estate up for that. The other thing is any persons, married or otherwise, who have children under the age of 18, remember, non-adult legally children, can use the will as a means to name guardians and conservators for their children. In other words, who's going to physically care for and financially care for their children if they're gone. And to me, any person who has a child should immediately make sure they got their will in place to cover what's going to happen to their children. Again, I can't tell you, I've got stories up the wazoo for all the things that have happened. But if you're a young couple and you're thinking about this and you're like, I just don't want to face the idea of dying, guess what? I view this as an insurance policy. I've never, ever had somebody come to me and say, I did my estate plan too early. Right?
Yeah, that's good thinking.
So it also deals with who you're, like I said, who's going to get your assets and when they're going to get them. If you have young children, we can control potentially when they're going to get that. And then some people on top of all of this will add a trust. There are many reasons to have a trust or not have a trust. It's a kind of a whole separate topic. So I think I'll push that to the side a little bit. It's a fourth layer to the plan that may or may not be needed. If we have time at the end of the podcast, I can always come back and answer some questions about that.
That's cool.
Excellent.
All right. So I think that what you've done here is that I think so we just a real review real quick. So if we're looking at those essential documents, those documents to have if you're alive, that's going to be that medical power of attorney and your financial or durable power of attorney. And then for after you pass, you want to have that will in place. Did I catch all that?
You got it.
Yeah, right on. Well, it's interesting because if we look at our question number, we've got another comment here. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and see what we got. We have Paige with us. How hard is it to make changes down the line? That's a fantastic question. Thank you, Paige.
Well, it's easy if your mother-in-law is an attorney.
Yeah.
But if you're not, you should make sure when you're working with an attorney that they are someone who is fairly up to date on technology. For our clients, we keep all documents in two forms. We keep it in the form we originally created in, which is in my world Pages, but is basically Word, right? A modifiable document. And we also keep a PDF scan of all the signed documents. So we maintain a backup just in case there's worst case scenario, a fire or something like that, where the signed documents have a place to have a backup. So if somebody calls me, and this happens all the time, down the road, I'll have somebody call me and say, hey, Kristin, this happened in our lives, blah, blah, blah. And while I'm at your computer, I pull up their document and I say, well, it looks to me like that was maybe covered by contingency with the way we wrote it. Let me tell you what we have already have. And if you feel still like that covers it, seems to me it does. Okay, great. No, nothing to see here. We all move on with our lives. No charge. Somebody calls me and we have that same conversation when we go, oh boy, okay, that is something where we're going to want to make some changes. It affects these particular documents. Perfect example, one of their children dies, adult children that they had named to do a lot of the jobs in these different documents. Well, obviously we need to get some new people in there. That's kind of a big thing. And then I say, it might take me half hour, an hour, whatever to make those changes, get you back in here and we'll get things re-signed for you. So at that point, with most attorneys, you're just paying for the additional time to do it. Make sure you're not working with somebody that does this as a package and then says goodbye to you. Make sure there's somebody that you can go back to and ask those changes. And it's a fair question to ask an attorney that exact question. I think people are afraid sometimes to ask attorneys questions. If you're afraid to ask, then maybe you're already, it's got a little bit of warning sign. You're not working with the right person. You should feel very comfortable to ask your attorney any of these questions. And if you're not comfortable with their answer, ask some more or go somewhere else, because all attorneys are not the same. We all have our pluses and minuses. And unfortunately, like every field, there are bad stories out there about the ones who are making a bad name for the profession. And you don't want to get with one of those.
So no, definitely not. Linnea Peterson has another question for us. Her question. So I have beneficiaries on all my investments, life insurances, savings, checkings, and transfer on death deeds on my 2 homes and 3 land properties. I do have a will too, but if I own vehicles, they will still be probated when I die? ?
Okay.
Now,
So
just a real quick, Linnea is coming to us from Minnesota. Just to throw that out.
sure. Okay. Well, Linnea, I don't know for sure about Minnesota. What I will say that is in general, from state to state, these kinds of questions are fairly consistent. So I'm going to give my Michigan answer, and then maybe you should do a little confirmation on your end as to whether or not that's true in Minnesota. So you got a couple of different things going on here that are all really important. First of all, your will only deals with assets that are your assets at the time you pass, probatable assets, or what we call estate assets. Okay. At the time you pass, a lot of your assets, especially if you're married, will not be ever estate assets. If you co-own anything with another person by will or deed, I'm sorry, not will, deed or title, then at the time you pass, the other person automatically will 100% own. For instance, I co-own my home with my husband. One of us dies, the other one still owns it. I joke as she who lives the longest wins. Note, I always have the she being the winner because we kill them off. It's just the way it works. Point is that when you co-own with somebody as a married couple, it's not 50-50. It's 100%, 100%. Just like your bank account. If you go into the bank, they're not going to say, oh, you can only take out 50% of the money. You can take out 100% of the money, right? So that goes
and just be clear, Linnea is single. So just be clear, she just wanted me to throw that out there.
Yep, I see that. Okay, so we'll get to that. But I want to make sure we understand what's not an estate asset. So the other things that are not estate assets, which is where Linnea was getting to, is anything where you have a named beneficiary. So this could be a named beneficiary on a life insurance policy, an IRA, a 401k, anything like that. It could also be for some bank accounts because most banks don't do savings checkings. They don't allow that. But if you have a money market account, they often will, because that's actually a traded type of account or an investment account. And for any of those accounts, they would have either a named beneficiary or a TOD designation, which stands for transfer on death. And what those things mean is that when you pass, by contract, somebody else owns it. So it never becomes an asset of your estate. You own it while you're alive, and as soon as you've passed, somebody else owns it. So the best way to avoid having to deal with any complications is to have as many things as possible set up that way. That would be true with deeds, although I'm not going to talk about transfer on death deeds because that is a Minnesota thing. It is not a Michigan thing. There are things in Michigan called ladybird deeds. They're not complex, but their ramifications can be. And I would not recommend anybody do a ladybird deed without getting proper legal advice on the ramifications of their exact situation, because those can go horribly wrong if they're done under the wrong circumstances. Vehicles in Michigan right now would have to go through probate, but again, it's the simple process of opening the probate and getting the letter that says I have authority and now you can go sell them and do the stuff. However, there is pending legislation in Michigan, if you love the legislative process, which none of us do, which says that they're working on a title transfer system. So we all know in Michigan, we have a printed out title for our vehicles. And Michigan is working on passing a law that would allow you to do a TOD designation, transfer on death designation on vehicles, which would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. That would be nice.
However, right now under the current law, if you've got everything else set up and the only thing in your estate is a car, there is a one vehicle exception, and you can go ahead and transfer one vehicle from an estate without ever having to open a probate. If in fact that's the only estate asset, there's other limitations, but I'm giving you the general overview. I hope I answered your question, Linnea.
I hope so too. So Linnea just wanted to add to this. In Minnesota, a beneficiary is all you need on savings and checking. If you have been a beneficiary on those, all you need is the death certificate. I know that from my own personal experiences.
Perfect. I wish Michigan did that. Maybe someday.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. As Anne knows.
Maybe someday we will.
Maybe. All right.
Cool. All right. So then I'm going to go ahead and jump to, and that's Linnea just adding to that. Yes, that would be a really cool thing. So cross your fingers. Come on, state of Michigan, you can do it.
I don't know if Michigan's working on it, Linnea, but oftentimes when states are working on these kinds of things, they do go, across more than one state. So keep an eye on it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So I feel like you answered question 5 already. Why do you consider the documents? So those 3 documents that we talked about, I think you talked about really well why you would consider them to be beneficial. And I also think that you answered question 6 is what could happen if you don't have these documents in place.
Let me back up though for a minute, because just in general,
sure.
Think about it. These documents are really to protect other people and not you, right? to make their lives easier, to make sure things can get done appropriately. Like I said, sometimes there are ramifications, especially with the powers of attorney. If you come out of a situation where you couldn't make decisions and somebody screwed things up for you, again, more stories than I can possibly tell in a 50-minute podcast. We could have a 15-hour-long extravaganza if you want some time. It'd be great. But what we're talking about here is, I think oftentimes, again, focus back to what I think is the most important document, which is the medical power of attorney. So somebody else has got to make these decisions for you. They have to decide if you have life support. They have to decide if it's okay for it's time for you to die, because our bodies oftentimes aren't living as long. I should say it the other way around. Our minds are often not living as long as our bodies in this society, right? Whatever it is. I drank too much Diet Coke in my life, and I've frozen all my brain cells, or whatever it is that's happened. Maybe I drink a lot of Diet Coke.
One too many old fashions.
I, as a young person, thought it was, speaking of being 55, add this to your list. You know you're 55 if you stop drinking regular Coke and switch to Diet Coke because you thought it would be better for you.
Totally gonna write that down.
That's a totally 55 and older thing.
It's great.
So the point is, though, that if you, with the medical decision situation, and I've experienced this myself in my own family, is if somebody is in that position where it's a critical time, a decision has to be made, and they don't have a document, imagine the pressure on the family of making that sort of end of life decision when there's no document telling them what the person wanted, and when the person was so tight-lipped during their lifetime that they never shared how they felt about the subject. Mm-hmm. The person will forever question whether or not they really did what that person wanted. And that kind of situation is what we would want to avoid for our loved ones. And that's why I think these documents really protect others more than they do ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Well said. Yeah, well said.
100% agree. Mm-hmm.
All right, so questions. Oh, we have a special guest with us. I have Betty the cat with me who wants to go out. And she's going to make sure everybody knows that. So, hey, Betty. I know she's just telling me how glad she is that we have I have all my documents ready. So yes.
And I'm going to point out, ladies, that you had your podcast the other day and you intended to get Spanish food and you ended up with something else that wasn't at all like Spanish food. And I am drinking my Spanish wine today to help you feel like you're catching up on Spanish a little bit.
Thank you.
That's right, because we were supposed to get the Universal Yums from Spain, and we ended up with the Universal Yums from South Korea.
Yeah, just exactly alike. Same thing.
I still haven't recovered from that one thing that was really gross.
Oh, yeah. Those strawberry things.
The chewy strawberry things were, they're putting the ass in nasty. That's all I know. Okay.
Hey, I know an attorney that fits that description.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Mic drop. That's awesome. Okay, so question 7. So beyond the essential estate documents, what should someone do to better prepare for the inevitable?
Sure. So 2 things. One, to your friend's comment earlier, anything that you can do to simplify the process after the fact, like making sure designations of beneficiaries are up to date, making sure that things are co-owned appropriately between a married couple or between you and other family members, if there's some family property. Those things are really important because they just they short the process down the road because those are things that just don't need to be done. The other thing that people just do not want to do is be open with the conversation about this. I can't tell you how many times I sit down with an individual or a married couple and realize that they've never talked about this or any of these subjects at all. I'm bringing up life support. I'm bringing up, what happens with the kids. I'm bringing up these things and they're looking at each other like, I don't know. Well, boy, oh boy, if the 2 of you don't know, or you alone don't know on your own, we got a lot of figuring out to do because how's anybody else supposed to know what to do? So being open with the conversation, it should not be taboo. It should make everyone feel better that you have thought this through and you have your plans in place. Now, that doesn't mean every time, my grandmother, how you doing, Grandma? Oh, my bursitis kicked up and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an open conversation about important things. And one of the things I recommend to people as part of their estate plan is to do something called a love letter. If they're concerned about their family not understanding what they wanted or their motivations for why they decided what they decided, then do a letter, kind of like a do not open till Christmas type of letter. Do not open till I pass letter that says, I love you. This is what I was thinking. I realize that this particular gift or this particular thing might seem wrong to you, but this is why I did it. This is my motivations, blah, blah, blah. Oftentimes this is crucial for families that are blended, his kids, her kids, their kids, blah, blah, blah. Why did we decide to do the things we did? These can be really helpful. And so, planning ahead, doing the right documents, making sure people are informed, and then keeping on top of it. Putting together your estate plan is not a one and done. Every 3 to 5 years, you should be taking a look at it and seeing what has changed in your life and what decisions you might have made. Can't tell you how many times people come to me and their plan is 30 years old. At the time they did it, they didn't have kids and they now have grandchildren. Maybe some things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Indeed.
Certainly.
So Linnea is with us, and she would like to know what a trust is.
Sure. So Linnea, a trust in Michigan, you're in Minnesota, but in Michigan, it's a document that layers on top of the essential documents. And it's intended for people that are either trying to do tax planning, which right now you have to have, as a married couple, about $28 million, for a single person, about $14 million. And estate assets, remember, that doesn't count those beneficiary designation accounts or anything like that. And so it allows us to do some tax planning. So again, most people obviously don't fall into that. It also is really critical if you've got a situation where when you pass, your money can't just be distributed. It somehow has to be protected for an extended period of time. So for instance, I have a special needs child that once I pass will forever need access to my funds, and somebody else is going to have to control that for their benefit. They can't ever own that money. Maybe it's because it'll affect government benefits they're receiving. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because they're handicapped to the extent where they can't manage money. Now, that's not to say my 29-year-old son, Paige's significant other, who doesn't need to have a trust in place because he doesn't need control of the money, but he does need to have some rules for the money potentially. That would be something that you could do still through the will. No offense, John, not trying to throw you under the bus, just using you as an example.
Right on.
I'm in trouble now.
Uh-oh.
No Christmas presents for me.
So Jeannie Silly just wanted to make a comment that she wished that she would have had some of these, so that love letter that you were talking about to the family, something that she wishes that she would have had when her dad passed on. Yeah, and that's something I update mine yearly. Probably should update it every 6 months because things change, but it has a lot of that information in it for sure. So, yep. All right, Paige is with us. She thinks that was funny.
She's just laughing.
Awesome.
I love you, Paige.
Well, yeah. Then I just think this is another question that how often should you update your estate documents?
So every 3 to 5 years you should take a look. That doesn't mean they need to be updated that often. Major life changes would require a change. If you just move, it doesn't necessarily require a change. If it's to another state, and you might think that it might affect your rights or responsibilities under the new state's laws, certainly you should be talking to somebody in that new state. That's a different story. If somebody changes their name or their address, those aren't reasons to update. But if an important person in all of your plans has passed away or is now unavailable or unwilling or unable to handle a job, for instance, this happens a lot of times. I have somebody call me and they say, I named my sister to handle all these jobs because I thought she was great. We just went through a problem with my mom, and boy, did I see the true side of her come out. And I don't want her on my documents making decisions. That's a bad choice. Those are the kinds of things that come along. The way I work with clients is when I give them their estate plan, I give it to them as a binder, and there's extra room in there. And I always say, keep like an updated contact list, keep your other information in there, like first page every year that you get from your IRA or your life insurance or whatever, just kind of keep things all together. So I pull my binder out once a year just to update it. And it's just a good reminder to take a look at it. it's just good to get into a pattern where you just don't shove it under the rug. You know, in my house, the safest place I would never think to look would be like behind the cookbooks in my kitchen, because I don't move cookbooks, I don't use cookbooks. So that's a really safe place. And plus, if it were stolen or moved, I would know, because the dust on the shelf of the moving of the books would be evident. So don't do that. Keep it in a place where you're using it as an ongoing tool, not a set it and forget it.
Gotcha.
Very good.
And what's you have something? Tell me what it's called. What's it called?
Oh, I have a knock box, which is a next of kin box. And my husband, we just got it. I want to say we just got it in January. So my husband and I, like a couple times a month, we're going through like one of the folders, and they give you everything that you, all the suggestions. Like one day we went through all of our keys in our drawer, in our garbage drawer, and we're like, what do all these keys belong to? So we figured out all the doors, and then we were able to label them because it came with all these little key labels, and then they all fit into one folder, or like a little pouch. So now all of our keys. So Jenny, when you get the knockbox, all the keys are labeled. So, it was just stuff like that. And of course,
thank God.
we had the whole thing about, our financial documents. So, that's what we did. And every time we get a new financial document, we take the old one out, we shred it, we put the new one in. So it's that sort of thing. And like you said, I was going to keep it someplace out of the way, but I literally have it where I can see it almost every day, because we go through it, and we're adding stuff, we're taking stuff out. So it's made me think about other things that, plus my Aunt Julie passed away last summer, and just going through her things. And she had she had her estate all, she went to you and had all those essential documents, but then just, she was living her life and, going through the bits and pieces, trying to find all the little bits and pieces that I needed. And that was much more difficult. And I was like, it would have been nice if it was all in one place, like, here is the box, go through everything. Some of it you may not need, some of it you will need. And some of it was just silly things that, it's like we found 3 different books with passwords in it. None of them worked.
Of course not.
So just like that sort of thing. It was just like, like I literally had the drawer of keys. I was like, I don't know where all these keys go to.
So for those of you that did not hear that, Angela,
she had years ago, so.
Yeah. So it's called a knock box, a next of kin box. And Ann, where did you get your knock box?
I got it from the company, the Knockbox company. So you just go NOX, next of kin, and that they have this whole website where you could do like, keep it really simple and just have a few folders. You could get like the mammoth box that was fireproof. I just went with the basic kit. I figured, we'll start that. If we need more, we can get more. But it's been very eye-opening for both Duncan and I, to go through, and being the Slytherin, it was stuff that I knew where everything was. But honestly, even, if I just wanted to be able to say, hey, Duncan, everything is right here. If something happens to me, it's all right here. Not, this is in this file. This is in this file. That's upstairs. This is behind the cookbooks I never use. That sort of thing. So just for my spouse, as spouses, it was helpful. So.
Yeah. And just to clarify too, with the documents and what Ann's talking about, if you're hearing her say, well, I've got my documents sitting out every day, and you're cringing thinking, oh my God, these are private documents, they shouldn't be sitting out. In Michigan, the powers of attorney are written, at least the ones we write, are written such that copies are as good as originals. So if something were to happen, the originals, it's no harm, no foul, copies are fine. The wills do, however, still need to be signed and notarized, wet signatures, as we say in Michigan. We're not getting to digital signatures yet. But my clients are all advised to store their wills for safekeeping with the probate court. So the only original will is safely locked away already with the court. So all my clients ever have is copies. That risk just doesn't exist.
Very good. There you go. Cool. And which my Aunt Julie did. That was another thing that she did that was extremely helpful. So
good job, Aunt Julie. Well done.
And I love Aunt Julie.
Yes.
Oh yeah, she was great.
She's great.
This is one of her favorite holidays. We would all be doing the unicorn song right now. So yeah.
I don't know the unicorn song, and I'm not sure I want to hear it. So
you do. It's actually super fun. It's the Irish Rovers. Your job after this, your homework is to go to YouTube, find the Irish Rovers and the unicorn song. It's cute. You'll like it. You'll want to do it with your grandkid because there's things to do. Green alligators,
okay. All
long
right.
neck
Got
boots,
it.
and
I got
unicorn.
it.
Okay, good. All right. So question 9, and this kind of question 9 and 10 are kind of things that we kind of had touched on a little bit. So what should someone do with their estate documents if they move to another state or another country?
So 2 things. One, if you have taken my advice when I did the documents, then your wills are on file with the probate court, which means you need to go and retrieve them. And you, during your lifetime, can retrieve them at any time from the probate court, and you don't have to pay for that. You just go down and do it. You can have an attorney do it. They just have to go down there with a notarized form from you. So that's fine. Take them to your new state and find an attorney there who can advise you on exactly the ramifications of the prior state versus yours. If you move to another state and you never do anything, don't freak out. You still have a will. The question is how it's going to be interpreted. But, like I said, realistically, from state to state, estate law is fairly consistent. The inconsistencies come in if you don't have a will. And if the epic or probate laws need to come in. Oh, my husband's here refilling my wine. He's such a good man.
That is awesome.
Nice.
Oh, such a good man. Anyway, the point is, it's more there you go. There's the wine for you. See.
Lovely.
So it is, but the point is, the risk of moving states matters more probably if you don't have documents than when you do. I have a client who actually is a dual citizenship between Italy and the United States. And my advice always to him is to have an attorney there, an attorney here. And at the time, if something is needed, those two need to be able to work together, because when you're talking about other countries, U.S. attorneys are often not able to work with properties in other countries.
Good to know.
You've got an attorney in that other country who can speak English so that the two can coordinate and work together to get things done.
Excellent.
All right. Very good.
All right. So that's one of the things that if you're moving, pay attention to that. It's something you should be taking care of as you get settled in, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. And by the way, we did have a comment from Paige in there. She thought that you would be completely into the unicorn song because unicorns.
I was going to say her daughter was like, yeah.
What granddaughter doesn't love unicorns? I get it. All right. I'll try to buck up as a grandma. I don't know how much more I can do. I mean, I got through Baby Shark. I just don't know how much more I can take.
Ooh, Baby Shark. Oof, that's rough.
More wine,
right, that brings more. Yeah, good Lord. Okay. And that brings us to our last question. So what is the advantage of working with a lawyer as opposed to going through an online legal service like, say, a LegalZoom?
Sure. So I get this question all the time. One, LegalZoom is not free. It still costs money. And I think people start to compare the cost of an attorney with nothing, but then they go with LegalZoom. Well, you already spent money for that. And I can't tell you times people come in with their LegalZoom documents for me to notarize. And I just say, before I sign and notarize this with you, I just want to tell you what you did. I want to make sure you're okay with it. And inevitably they go, I did what? Because it's just you're checking boxes.
Victor says what?
You're checking boxes, right? So both of you have been through the estate plan process with me, and I'll ask both of you, did I hand you a form to fill out?
No.
Did I ask you to check any boxes?
No.
Did you make any decisions without us talking about it first?
No.
Okay, none of those things are true if you work with an online system. And here's the great news. After you've checked the boxes with no legal advice and you've signed the documents, you now have legally binding documents.
That scares me.
And if you're only hearing this and not seeing the faces, you're missing out, because
I'm like, that's
I'll give you a perfect example. My own parents, this is a second career for me. So I've been practicing law about 15 years. Well, this is my 15th year. My parents came to me, I don't know, about 10 years ago or so, and said, hey, we did our wills when you guys were young. Now you're older. Maybe we should probably relook at these documents. And I always start with people to say, well, let's look at what you have and make sure it's, because it's old doesn't mean it's not fine, right? Let's take a look. We take a look. I said, do you realize in your medical power of attorney, you clicked that you did not want any life support? Well, at the time they signed those documents, they were 30. And they said, yeah, we don't want to be kept on life support. I said, no, you didn't click you didn't want to be kept on life support. You clicked you didn't want life support, which means you can't be given water, you can't be given air, and nobody can call an ambulance for you. You basically have said that you want a do not resuscitate order.
Right. I was going to say.
And they panicked. And it is a really common thing that can happen, because our immediate reaction when somebody says, do you want life support? It's, well, no, I mean, I don't want to be on life support, right? Well, let's have a discussion about what that means. And that's the things that that's not what happens if you're clicking boxes on an online system. It makes me nervous that people are getting advice. I shouldn't say it that way. The people are filling out forms without getting advice.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. Well, and the other thing that, just speaking from, when Aunt Julie passed, and I don't want to speak for you, but, what you had questions that Kristin was awesome about answering. And that's something that you can't do with a LegalZoom, especially if you've gotten your LegalZoom documents done and then you leave those for your next of kin. You're going to have questions. You're going to have questions about this process because it's heavy, it's thick. There's a bunch of stuff that you can't even know that you're going to come up against. And so being able to pick up the phone and call Kristin was incredibly useful and helpful all the way through that process.
Yeah, it was. And like you said, Kristin, these aren't documents for you, the person. These are documents for the people who will be doing this after you are gone. And that's basic, and it's not just the documents, but it was just like, I knew I could call you or text you or email you, and you would respond and answer my questions of, honestly, I didn't know what I didn't know. So, and that was, I would have never gotten that. I couldn't do that with an online document. So.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now comes the love fest portion of the show.
Exactly.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I think we have gotten to the end of our questions, and we have had I would say a spirited hour of talk about what I think is a really important topic. This is Jeannie Caselli. Excellent episode that I will listen to again. Good, Jeannie. We want you to listen to this again. Exactly. That's right. I think Kristin has provided the smart, dumb fun ever. So
yeah, she really has. We had Storm Chasers on, and that was pretty smart. So this is even smarter.
I know.
Wow. Okay.
And those guys were super smart. And okay, so we have two guests now, Anne, that I would say are like literally changing lives between the Storm Chasers and Kristin Britt, which is a beautiful thing. So let me throw this on there because I want to make sure that people get a chance to see this, that we have been speaking with Kristin Britt. So Kristin, we can't say thank you enough. And also we have a tote bag for you. That's right. Yay. All guests of the Brother Sister Smart Dumb Fun get a free tote bag with stickers in it.
You know what? It's a gift enough that you use that old picture of me. I look much better there.
That would be Anne. Anne picked that out.
I did. I was like, yeah. Sexy lawyer working hard for you.
That's right. So we have been speaking with Kristin Britt from the Britt Law Group. She's up in Grand Rapids. Her phone number is right there. You can also find her at BrittLawCounselor.com. You can also find her on the Facebook at Britt Law PC Grand Rapids, Michigan. Is there any other place we can find you, Kristin?
In my library, where I am in my home, where I took all the extra beds out of my house so my kids couldn't come back.
That's like breaking the plate a step further.
Yeah, for real.
You don't even have a bed here. There's no plate. There's no bed. Don't come back.
Right on. And if you have any questions that you have for Kristin, again, you can reach her at all of these places. You can also reach out to us, and we can give her questions as well, and put you guys together if you want to work with Kristin. And I highly recommend it. Kristin has not only done the estate planning for Anne and I, but also our husbands, also our parents, also one of our aunts, and hopefully soon the other aunt. So,
Yeah, no,
looking forward to the family reunion.
Right on.
Your office.
We're having it in your, and we will bring cake. Okay, good. As far as next week, humongous stuff happening next week. Big sneak peek to next week. For starters, you guys will actually be having our show a day early. We will not be coming to you on Sunday of next week. We will be coming to you on Saturday for our show. We'll be talking about the city of Chicago, and then we will be doing a bunch of live updates Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday as we basically eat our way through Chicago. Duh. And, that's what we are going to be up to. So that'll be fun, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yep. So, yep. So anyway, you guys, I'm going to close this out. I'm going to bring on the official, wait for it.
Don't forget, everybody, that you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on iHeartRadio. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube. Subscribe, click, follow, ring the bell, ask us questions, spread the word, support the brothers, sisters. It's for free.
Oh, free.
And here's our fabulous closing music, also by the magnificent Max Selly.
That's right. You've been listening and watching the Brothers Sisters Smart Dumb Fun. I'm Janice Brothers.
And I'm Ann Brothers.
That's right, you guys. And again, Kristin Britt, thank you so much. And peace and out.